Hi, everyone. Welcome to Waste 360's Nothing Wasted podcast. On every episode, we invite the most interesting people in waste, recycling, and organics to sit down with us and chat candidly about their thoughts, their work, this unique industry, and so much more. So thanks for listening and enjoy this episode. One of the best things about this podcast is learning about the latest technologies and innovation in our industry. And that's why we're delighted to introduce Juno, a breakthrough waste recovery technology that's proven to recover up to 90%, yes, 90% of materials it processes, diverting them from landfills and incinerators. And these materials, things like paper fiber, plastics, and metals, are then circulated back into the economy for reuse as raw materials. So talk about a circular solution. If you would like to learn more, visit gpjuno.com. That's gpjuno.com. Hi, everyone. This is Liz Bothwell from Waste 360 with Francisca Troutman, co-founder of Glass Half Full. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So I love your story and I love your Louisiana background and how you've paved your way and caring for the environment and starting it all locally. So could you please tell me more about your journey so far?
Yeah. So I've lived in Louisiana my entire life. Always heard about our, dire coastal erosion crisis where we're losing 100 yards of land every 100 minutes off of our coast. And it wasn't until I got to Tulane and met my co-founder Max that I really started to think more deeply about our waste and recycling issues. Again, growing up in Louisiana, I didn't have access to recycling very much, didn't have curbside recycling. But Max, being from New York City, was used to all of those things and sort of opened my eyes to how recycling really should be run. And so during our senior year of college at Tulane, we just decided to do something about the lack of glass recycling here in New Orleans. And we knew that we couldn't, bring it to a facility to turn it into new glass because we don't have any of those facilities nearby. And so we decided to stop at sand. And the second we decided on sand, we decided on coastal restoration. And that was the end of that.
Wow, I love that. And so tell me more about Glass Half Full and what you've been able to accomplish so far and even your process.
Yeah. So Glass Half Full started in 2020. Like I said, while we were still seniors in college. And so we started in a backyard and just recycling glass any way we could. We started a GoFundMe to raise all of the initial capital, and we were able to purchase a very small machine that would turn, one bottle into sand at a time. And we functioned out of that backyard for 4 or 5 months until we were able to, steadily grow and expand and meet the demand of the New Orleans community that we saw. And now we are recycling 150,000 pounds a month. We are in an actual facility, a 40,000 square foot facility right in New Orleans. We've created 10 jobs and we're just steadily, expanding because the demand for glass recycling throughout the state, throughout the region is so immense.
Oh, I bet it is. And I feel like you're raising awareness of it and just the interest level must be skyrocketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think showing people what we do and how we do it really excites them to see that it's actually turning into something that's benefiting the community. I think in a lot of recycling programs, you just put something in a bin and then you never see it again. You don't really know what happens to it. And so for people to be able to see what's happening to it is, I think, inspiring them to take action and get more involved.
Definitely. So tell me more about your business model. It's looks like it's collection fees and then you sell the sand on the tail end as well, right?
Yeah, most of our revenue is on the front end through collections. So we operate a residential pickup collection as well as a commercial pickup collection. And yeah, both of those programs bring in revenue that allow us to operate our free drop-off service where anyone can come and bring us glass for free. and then also turn that glass into a usable product that we can then sell or donate in some cases for things like disaster relief sandbags and coastal restoration projects.
Oh, that's great. I love that you're giving back to the community because you had mentioned, I believe, on another interview that a lot of the people who need it most can't really afford it. So there you are donating sandbags during storms. That's great.
Yeah, our goal is always to make our programs accessible to everyone, and especially communities that are often overlooked in the climate change movement and environmental sustainability.
That's fabulous. And I read somewhere that Mike from Dirty Jobs helped out. How did that go?
We love Mike. Yes, Mike Rowe had a show on Facebook Watch called "Returning the Favor," which we didn't know about. They approached us as if they were doing an environmental documentary about us, and on the last day of filming, Mike Rowe came on the screen and was like, "Joke's on you! This is not a documentary. This is my show, Returning the Favor." And here's a check for $32,000. It was the craziest day, I think, one of the craziest days in this entire journey, really, because I grew up watching Mike Rowe on Dirty Jobs. So to have him like recognize our mission and what we're trying to do and give us a big check was just incredible.
Oh, that must have been so cool. And the unveil where you were actually shocked. How fun is that?
Yeah, so fun. They came in with a big check. Those are always super exciting, and they had a second line band, and we were really so gullible. We heard the band from like so far away, and we were like, oh, like how fun, classic New Orleans, like just a second line band on a random Friday afternoon, and then they came to the warehouse, and we were like, oh my gosh, we are so stupid.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that they pulled it off.
Yeah, they did.
And then it looks like you got some sort of grant as well. How does that work?
Yeah, so in partnership with Tulane University, we applied for a national science grant through their Convergence Accelerator program, which is really about combining research with entrepreneurship. They want there to be, groundbreaking research, but then turning that into a sustainable business model. And so, yeah, we were able to apply for the coastal restoration work that we're doing and that we're trying to continue doing. And so the first phase was about $700,000 to Tulane to conduct the research. We just completed that first year with that grant, and we essentially proved the safety and the feasibility of using recycled glass sand for coastal restoration in Louisiana. And then the goal for the next 2 years is to expand that research into other environments like beaches, different places like Mississippi, Florida, Texas, and seeing where else this novel research and technology could be applied.
Wow, that's fabulous. So, I mean, you really are teaching people along the way, which is a beautiful thing.
That's definitely the goal. Yeah, we know how there are so many places around the globe that don't have glass recycling and that are also experiencing coastal erosion. So we know that this research can be applicable in so many other areas.
Oh, definitely. And then what kind of response are you getting from residents? I would imagine they're embracing you.
Definitely. Yes, from the beginning we've had so much support from the community. It's the only reason truly that we've been so successful. We launched a GoFundMe and people actually gave us money, to make this happen and to see this through and to support us. And so from the beginning we've really had so much community support, so much community buy-in that it's been so uplifting and beautiful to see, and we really wouldn't be where we are without the New Orleans community.
Oh, that's fab. What a nice story. I mean, to see a success story like this that's so social in nature and entrepreneurial too, and just that to see you grow and succeed locally, and then I'm sure you will expand is wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
And then, so how much glass are you diverting from landfills now?
So to date, we have diverted 2.5 million pounds, but we're currently at a scale of about 150,000 pounds per month. So we're steadily increasing, and the goal is to just continue to increase that processing capability. But it's really just machines holding us back. The second we can get larger and more efficient machinery, then we'll be able to recycle more glass because the demand is really there.
Oh, that's good to hear. And the machinery, are you waiting on that due to supply chain issues or funding?
Definitely funding.
Uh-huh.
uh, yeah, the larger they get, the more expensive they get. And so we're working on raising the funds for that machinery right now, and hopefully by the end of 2022 we will have that money in order to be able to upgrade our machinery.
Oh, that's great. And then a lot of our listeners are waste and recycling professionals and sustainability managers, so they're going to love your story. Um, so can you talk a little bit about your internal processes from, how you collect and then what goes on in the facility until the sand is actually distributed?
So we collect glass two different ways. One is through our free drop-off services where anyone can bring us that glass. And then the second is through our paid pickup services, which we have for residents as well as businesses. And then once the glass reaches our warehouse, we put it into what we like to call our glass mountain, which grows and shrinks as we process. And from the glass mountain, it'll be picked up with a front end loader and then loaded into the hopper of our pulverizing system. And the pulverizing system is able to not only crush it down into the sand and gravel products that we make, but also separate any contaminants. So, metal caps, corks, as well as labels. A lot of people have questions about what happens to the labels. And then from there, we'll sieve it into the different sizes that we use. So anywhere from a very fine sand, kind of powder-like sand, up to a gravel size. And then each size has a different use. So the finest stuff we use for sandbags since it's more absorbent. The coarser sand we use for coastal restoration projects mostly. And then the gravel can be used for artists, landscaping, flooring, and different things like that.
Oh, that's great. Which one now is the most popular for you guys, or the most demand?
The most demand is definitely in the coastal space. I mean, like I said, we're losing 100 yards every 100 minutes. So we'll never meet that demand, that there is for sand in coastal restoration. And so that's definitely the space where we see the most demand for that product.
Oh, amazing. I grew up on a barrier island. It was in New Jersey, and every summer they undergo this big project of rebuilding the dunes, and it's quite a process. So to see that you're doing this with glass is amazing. There's such a future there.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so much upkeep in coastal protection and restoration. We also have barrier islands here in Louisiana, which are rapidly disappearing because it's it's so hard to keep up with the amount that we're losing.
Oh, it really is. So what kind of challenges have you overcome in getting this off the ground?
We faced many challenges. The main one has probably from the beginning been funding, because that influences all of our other challenges, like being able to scale up, being able to meet the demand that we're seeing, being able to keep up with everything. And yeah, because we started as young college kids, I think we didn't have access to a lot of the traditional funding mechanisms that other entrepreneurs might. And so we started with crowdfunding, with GoFundMe, which was successful, but there's definitely a limit to how much you can raise through crowdfunding. And so yeah, funding has always been something that's sort of holding us back from being able to grow as much as we'd like.
Well, it's great to see that you're doing a lot of different things in order to acquire the funding, and even being in the news and things like that to raise awareness is huge.
Yeah, thank you. We're definitely trying our best to get the word out there. Yeah.
And then you guys are so good on social media. I think it's just the way of sort of socially focused brands now. So how is that helping with this?
Yeah, social media has been such an important tool from the beginning. We got on TikTok pretty early on in 2020 when we had just started and just shared our story and our goals and our hopes and dreams with no expectation of, getting anything in return. And then all of a sudden, people were resonating with it and they were loving it and saying, "Oh, I want to do this," or "You've inspired me to do this." And then suddenly we started getting, partnerships. I mean, the Mike Rowe team found us because we were on TikTok. So we got $32,000 because we were on TikTok. We got a machine donated to us because, someone found us on TikTok. We got a grant because someone's daughter found us on TikTok. So it's just been this really incredible and powerful tool to create these partnerships and get our story out there and also be able to just connect with other like-minded people, especially young people who maybe didn't think that they could make a difference in their community or solve a problem that they saw, but then saw that we were able to do it. And we were able to inspire them or help them along their journey. So it's really been incredible to see and be a part of.
Definitely. And like you said, you went into this just trying to share your dreams and you were super authentic and that definitely resonates with people on social. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. I think authenticity is definitely key in social media these days, and people really appreciate that.
They do. And has your strategy changed at all on social with some of the success that has come? And now that you are really running a business now, you're a flourishing entrepreneur. Do you find yourself sharing different things for your audience?
Only out of necessity, really. I think what the stuff that does the best is really when you being gritty and in the warehouse till 10 p.m. working on a project and sharing those kinds of stories. I don't think people are as interested, or maybe I haven't figured out how to share it in the best way, but aren't as interested when an entrepreneur suddenly shifts to like answering a bunch of emails and being in Zoom meetings all day. Like that's definitely not as exciting for people to watch and see. And so for me, that's been an interesting shift in social media and my storytelling is like my days aren't as like thrilling as they used to be, which is good for the business because I'm able to really work, on the business and grow glass half full as much as we can. But it's not as fun as me like going into the facility and crushing glass and throwing glass in a mountain. So that's something I'm definitely struggling with.
Oh, definitely. And then, I mean, speaking of that, do you have any advice for young social entrepreneurs like yourself?
My advice is always to, if you have an idea or if you have a solution to a problem that you see, to just go for it. Because my co founder and I started without any previous knowledge of recycling, without any expertise in glass or glass recycling or anything like that. And we truly learned everything along the way just because we wanted to see this happen. We wanted to see this through. And I think that's enough for most entrepreneurs. And so don't be afraid of not having the right college degree or the right experience or the right advisors at first, because also the more you reach out to people and tell your story and tell people what you hope to do, the more that people will come to you to help. I think that's been the biggest lesson so far is like when in doubt, just ask for help. And most of the time you'll get something and you'll get an answer.
Oh, that's fabulous. And I mean, you launched pretty much during the pandemic, didn't you?
Yep, we launched February of 2020, so a month before, about a
Oh,
month.
wow.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I mean, because I know during the pandemic, a lot of glass recycling programs were shut down. Do you think you were a beneficiary of that? Or I know you're definitely a solution around that.
Yeah, I think the pandemic definitely offered us a unique landscape to jumpstart our goals because our our business model was very like individual based, especially in the beginning. It was based on, attracting residents as opposed to bars and restaurants. And those were closed anyway. And so, and people were at home and they were perhaps drinking a little bit more out of glass. And so we were really able to thrive in that landscape because we were catering towards residents and individuals.
Oh, I bet. And how's your commercial business side of it now?
The commercial side is definitely growing a lot more now. In the beginning, it was hard to cater to commercial clients just because it's a much larger scale. They produce so much more glass than an individual resident. And so that was hard for us to figure out and also be able to invest in the required machinery, the required trucks, and all of those things that we needed to get in order to be able to service commercial clients. But now it's growing a lot more. I mean, we still only have like 30 commercial clients that we're picking up from, but we have nearly 300 on our waiting list to get their glass picked up. So again, we're seeing the demand. We're just struggling to keep up with it.
Well, I guarantee you'll find a solution for it. And
Yeah, I
then,
hope so.
uh, and then how is Tulane helping now? Are you going to speak to sort of young environmentalists there, or are you involved on the grant piece of it still, just to make sure that these next phases go through?
Yeah, I'm involved in a couple of different ways through Tulane. I do get invited to speak to different classes by professors, whether it's the business school or the freshman classes. I do get to speak to students a lot and tell them my story and how they might get involved. And then also on the grant side, I basically serve as the liaison between, the scientists, the engineers, the research side, and then the operations of Glass Half Full. So that could be anything from, attending all of the NSF meetings and planning our future coastal restoration projects to just like grabbing a sand sample to get to the researchers and things like that.
Fabulous. Well, I'm sure you'll be tied to them for the near future. I mean, what an opportunity and what just great learning you're providing to the students there. I love that example you're setting.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah. I hope they're inspired.
So how is it going with, are you partnering with municipalities? And how many counties or um, villages are you in now?
I think municipality partnerships are sort of the next step in our growth. Again, it's scaling up to be able to meet the demand of municipal recycling, and so we have that planned in the next 1 to 2 years. And so now is when we're kind of starting those conversations of speaking to governments and city councils about how we might partner to recycle more and more glass. Currently, we service 3 parishes, so New Orleans, Jefferson, and St. Bernard Parish with our pickup and drop off services. But we hope to continually expand that because there's truly no glass recycling in the state of Louisiana and also in some areas in the Gulf South near us as well.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I mean, you just have growth and scalability coming out your eyes. It just needs to happen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Good for you. Amazing. So, in terms of expansion plans, it sounds like you need some more infrastructure. And is your facility at a point where you're busting out, or do you still have growth potential there?
Oh yeah, we are looking for every like square inch of space in our facility right now. Like, oh, how can we stack this to
Yeah.
make more room and like things like that. So I think we definitely have a new facility in mind for the next, in the next within the next 2 years or so.
Oh, that's great. And then I know being a co and it's still fairly new to you. How do you and Max kind of divvy up what you're doing? I know it varies between co-founders and what your strengths are. So I'd love to hear how you guys have kind of figured this out at such a young age.
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of trial and error to figure that out, as with anything new. But just to give you some background, my major in college was chemical engineering, and Max was in political science. So we've always had that sort of difference in terms of science versus liberal arts. Max also had already started a successful business, Serengeti, while he was still in high school, and so he already had that like business experience. And so early on, it was pretty clear what our different skill sets were in terms of like science versus business and maybe financials. And I was more logical. He was the big dreamer, is still the big dreamer, comes up with these ideas and then I figure out how to make them happen. And so that's kind of been how we've separated everything out thus far.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like a good matchup and that you guys have figured it out. And I'm sure you will pivot as you need to moving forward.
Exactly. There's always something that comes up that we're like, oh, who has responsibility there? And then we just
Yeah,
figure it out.
exactly. Oh, well, that good for you. What a good combination you two are.
Thank you.
So, I mean, what is your next 2 years? What's your dream now in terms of acquiring the equipment and fundraising?
Yeah, the next couple of months till the end of 2022 will really be about fundraising, raising capital. We're going to put on some events. We're going to hopefully attract some investors and also apply for more grant funding through foundations since we've been successful with a few thus far. So that's the short term plan and goals, and that's so that within the next 2 years we'll be able to build out a new facility with new machinery that's 10 to 20 times more efficient and more capable of processing glass than the ones that we currently have, and that we believe will allow us to expand you know throughout the Gulf South region. We keep taking these minimal stepping stone steps in terms of increasing the size of the facility, increasing the machinery. We keep taking these very small steps and we're ready for kind of like a giant leap because of how much demand we're seeing. We take a step and then we're already, the demand has increased more than we increased our capability of processing the glass, and so we've constantly been like trying to catch up, and so we're ready to just make that big leap and build out a new facility and get state-of-the-art machinery that's capable of processing all of the glass that we want to be able to recycle.
Oh, definitely. And that's such a good problem to have and a solvable one. And it sounds like you're on your way.
That's what everyone always says. It's a great problem to have, like too much demand, for
Right.
sure.
Oh, definitely. Oh, good for you. Well, this is great. And then is there anything else you want to share that I haven't asked about?
We've talked about a lot, but I think one thing that um, listeners often wonder is about the safety of using recycled glass sand in the environment. I think most people on this podcast will know that glass comes from sand, and so we're just turning it back into sand and also ensuring that all of the mechanisms that we're using are safe and effective in the environment. So we're looking at everything from contaminants, heavy metals, the angularity of the sand. There's so many different things about sand that I never knew, and that now I'm basically an expert in sand. um, and we're testing it in different environments. We're testing it with different plant species, with different fish species, and just all around confirming the safety of the material in the environment, because that's obviously our number one goal. We want to be able to help the environment, not hurt it anymore. And so yeah, just to put everyone at ease that we are doing our due diligence.
Oh, that's good to hear. And I did see your TikTok where you said, "I will prove that this is safe," and you were barefoot on the different piles of the sand. That was awesome.
Yes, that's always the number one question. It's like, can you walk on it?
Yes, it's a veritable beach, people, right? Your
Yeah.
glass mountain could be a beach someday and will
Yes.
be.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we're rooting for you and look forward to watching you grow. This is amazing work you're doing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
Okay, thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.